How do you make the most of Carib HR Forum community? That's the question we'll be asking and answering tonight with the help of more or experienced members and me. And in case we haven't met, my name is Francis Wade. I am the founder and I'm one of the hosts here at Carib HR Forum, along with my wife and colleague Dale Pilgrim Wade, who chances are you've probably met one of us. And it's great to have you here as a new member in CaribHR Forum. But let me just make sure that your fingers are working and that you're hearing me correctly. Say hi in the chat. I'm going to put a big hello in the chat because we're going to be going back and forth tonight and we might as well start. Marguerite from Toronto. Hi, Adana. I'm seeing names that I've only seen online so far. Hello, Carla. Hakeem. Oh, that's Juliana. Hi, Juliana. We met at the conference. I'm going to think that quite a few of you are here because you came from the conference. Maybe you should also drop the country that you're in. Farah, you just dropped a question in the Q&A. The chat, just click on chat, which is to the left of Q&A, and say hi there. And that way everybody can see your comment. Farah, go ahead and try that. Let's see. Jamaica, St. Lucia, Adana. So click on chat, which is at the top left-hand corner, and type a message in the box in case you've not used Remo before. I wanted Farah to say hi because, oh, here she is. Farah, where are you from? Belize. Folks don't know that my father was actually born in Belize. So I have all kinds of Belizean connections and family. And the name Wade is like a Belizean name. But anyway, so tonight we're here to explore how you can make the most of CaribHR Forum community. And we'll be starting off with a presentation and discussion. I'll be talking and we'll be going back and forth in the chat. And we're going to close out the evening with a networking session. So we're going to go back to networking mode, sit at tables. I'm going to have you bounce around and talk to people, meet people, actually give you an assignment. Because one of the purposes of, I imagine, that you've joined CaribHR Forum is not just to learn a whole bunch of stuff, but it's also to meet some people, right? Tell me if that's true in the chat. Did you come to meet some people? Did you come to learn? Did you come to give? Or did you come to be one of those takers? Because we got a couple of takers. People who come to CaribHR Forum community and all they want to do is extract what they can. But this is also an opportunity for you to give. As you probably, Carla says all of the above. Give and take. And if you read our materials before you join, you know that the community is based on a healthy balance of both contribution and growth and learning and sharing. And that's a space that we're trying to make. So why should we solve this problem today? Well, you've joined and you maybe have asked yourself, what should I get from this? Or what could I expect? And how do I make the most? How do I make sure that I don't, for example, waste my time, put a whole lot of effort into this, and then end up with some dashed expectations and a feeling that like I missed out on something, that maybe something should have happened and I didn't make it happen. So we don't want any of those things, any of those particular outcomes. And by the way, if you're brand new to Remo, if you click on the slide will open up and fill up your screen. That's a slide that I'm dropping in the chat. So I want to make sure that these things don't happen. And one thing we can tell you from a few things we can tell you tonight from prior experience working with folks who've been in our community from early 2019 is that what does not work. So let's talk about what doesn't work. What doesn't work is sitting back and kind of hoping that something is going to happen, because communities aren't built that way. Communities are based on giving and taking, on investing time and energy in building relationships, in learning and growing, and at the same time being open to what shows up in the space. Now, those who only wait to show up to see what shows up in the space typically don't hang around for very long. Why? Because that's not how it works. That's all I can tell you. Our experience tells us that it's one of those things, like any community, when you put in, you also get a whole bunch of stuff out. But let me ask you, on a scale of 1 to 5, with respect to the question, where do I start? Have you been not even wondering where do I start because you've already figured it out? If that's the case, put a one in the chat. Or have you been having sleepless nights, tossing and turning, wondering, this CaribHRForum community thing, and this online thing, I know I'm like a trial member. Am I a full member yet? Did I finish the checklist properly? Did I get the emails I was supposed to get? Have you been wondering these things at a level 1, a level 5, or somewhere in between? Just put them in the chat so we have an idea where you're at, so I can tailor our conversation tonight, so I can kind of make the most of where you're at. Marguerite says it's just 3. Adana is a 4. Fares right in between. It sounds like a 3 kind of average here. No ones, nobody already figured everything out, and no 5s. You already figured it all out, and you're here because you clicked the wrong link. You're not sure why you're here. Margaret says wandering, but she's not stressing and curious. Well, there's a lot to be curious about because we have some things coming down the pike also that, frankly, you're going to be the first to hear about them tonight here in this webinar or in this conversation discussion. Few things we've not told anyone in the community. What could they be? Well, let me ask a question before we get into all of that kind of thing. And this is a question about your background. So with respect to your background, tell me, what's your current situation? Are you a freelancer, consultant, coach, gig worker? That'd be me. Are you an HR practitioner? Are you job hunting? Or maybe you're transitioning to consulting from some other situation, or you're actually an accountant and someone sent you the link by email and you clicked on it just to kind of see what the heck is going on with these HR people because you're really not sure and you don't know what to expect. The 2 HR practitioners, it sounds as if we're mostly consultants and practitioners. Anyone in IR would also be an HR practitioner. Anyone from IR? 5 student. Great. Thanks, Siobhan. Great. We love student. And we love to have more student. And what are your interests? So you can have more than one interest. So just drop a number in some numbers in the chat. Let me know what you're interested in terms of topics with respect to HR. One is personal upskilling, which is like growth, my own growth and the growth of other people. Well, not my own, sorry. This is like L&D. Number 2, industrial relations. Number 3, you can read the numbers on the list. Just give me some idea of what your interest might be. 3, job hunting for actual HR posts. So some of you are actually job hunting. Adana, okay, great. Personal job hunting. 7 and 8, Juliana, organizational development and personal networking. 1, 7 and 8, L&D. 7 and 8 are very popular. 1, 3, 5, 7. Tamika, community of practice. That's not on the list. Tamika, hi Tamika. I guess I should have put it on other, huh? Adana, 1 to 7. All right, well, that's like 1 to 8. Okay, like all of the above. All right, well, that's good. That gives us a good idea of what your span of interest might be and how I can slant the conversation tonight. Uh, I'm clicking, see if I did the right click or did I click the one I clicked before? Clicking. And the reason I'm asking you these questions is because Tiffany says 1, 2, 7, and 9. All right, great. Well, we're still going. Akeem says 1, 3, 7 is really popular. 7 and 8. Did you notice that? Organizational development. Huh. That's usually, this is different. Not usually the case. Tamika says that's what happens when I late and jump in without confession. Well, the purpose for our session tonight is to take you from sort of leaping across this chasm from where you have all these questions, might be a bit confused, that you actually leave here with a plan. So I'm going to give you a whole bunch of information that will help you in your planning because we want to basically offer you the opportunity to plan out the next year. Because we actually do have a bit of a timeline that we follow. But it takes a little bit of orientation to get your heads around all of the things, or your head around all the things that could happen in the next year. Because I'm going to say this a few times tonight. You can't do all of them. You got to choose. So, onboarding, well, boy, the most significant onboarding I ever experienced was when I left Jamaica and went to Cornell University up in upstate New York, where it snows like 10 months out of the year, or 9 months out of the year. And I had never seen snow before. And I had never lived in the United States before, not really, not as an adult. Been there as a kid, but not as an adult. So this is a picture of the International Living Center where I lived on campus. And thank goodness for the International Living Center, because that's how I onboarded into campus life, but it's how I, more importantly, how I onboarded into life in America. So I had this kind of 2 years of living in the dorm where I was able to transition. And they had orientation events. The engineering school I was in had orientation events. And Cornell itself had orientation events. Plenty orientation. So the benefit of doing all that orientation is that it helped me to adjust to what was a brand new culture. And all that racial stuff, that was there from the very first day, because that's the nature of living in the United States. And it helped me to understand and to come to grips as someone who did not come from that culture with what that culture was all about. And about the practical things. There were so many things I wanted to try, like fencing and gymnastics, horseback. Didn't do any of those, but they were there. I could have done them if I wanted. But the point was, the orientation was very structured. And this was a picture that we took, for example, of all the people in the dorm. I think it happened early on in the year. I wasn't in that picture. I was probably in the library somewhere because I was an engineering student trying to pass exams. And back then, black and white was kind of nice pictures that we had. But it was all a part of the orientation process. And it helped me to adjust. And we want to not necessarily can't duplicate that, but have our own version. And we do have our own version of how to introduce new members to our community. But this is the first time we're actually having a webinar to get the job done, having a live event. We usually just send emails. So today is a bit of an experiment for us to see whether or not you find this valuable. So we'd love to hear your feedback at all points throughout. But let's go through the 3 steps that we recommend that you take in the next year. So the first is to become a full member. So if you're not a full member, you're a trial member. There's a number of benefits to becoming a full member, including some discounts. There's a discount we're going to be offering starting tomorrow, and it'll only be available to full members. If you're not a full member, it won't be available to you. But that's one example. But the steps to becoming a full member are very easy. So I'm going to lay out the steps in the next 3 slides. They're all embedded in a checklist, and let me give you the link to the checklist. If Dale doesn't get to the checklist before I do. Checklist. Here it is. Okay, checklist is in here. Some of you have already completed it. I know that some of you are already full members we got some people today becoming full members. That looks very purple, doesn't it? I can't explain that. Technology is amazing. But the checklist is very simple. It starts off by putting in your picture. So one way people know in our community if you're a full member or not is if you have a picture, because you can't become a full member without a picture. You add some social links to your profile, usually LinkedIn and Facebook or your website. You complete the About section, which is just telling us more about you, like an introduction. So for serious networkers, this is, of course, as you imagine, you've got to do this. Being anonymous in a community is not only bad form in terms of networking, it's also a bit dangerous because we don't allow anonymous members in our network. Why? Because there are spammers, scammers, thief, smart man. I don't know what they would call them in Barbados or Bahamas, but those are some of the terms we have in the Caribbean for people who scam and also troll, do all these undesirable behaviors. And one of the ways that we keep the community safe is by insisting on kind of like KYC with your bank, know your customer. We want to know the person in the community. There is no anonymity. And we've picked people out who try to remain anonymous because it just doesn't work for us. One of the ways that we keep, as Dale said, we keep the community safe. So the next two steps, those are pretty simple. They take 5 minutes. Is to follow at least 2 or more people. So following people means going through the list of members, just basically following them. When they have an update, it lets you know. This is how you stay in touch with people and start to get to know what they're up to. And at least one topic. And you probably know we have a number of topics on our platform. And you can follow a topic, and when the top topic gets updated, like for example, we have a job and project topic, and occasionally I post jobs in that topic. You'd get an update if you're job hunting, for example, and it would tell you that there's a new post in your topic, usually an advertisement for an HR job somewhere in the Caribbean. We also want you to share a few contributions for others, which is kind of like liking on Facebook, or there's some equivalent on LinkedIn, equivalent to liking. So we want you to practice some of the basic functions of good community manners, man. You know, when you go on, you appreciate what other people do. You don't have to leave a comment. We just want you to sort of get your clicks going so that you understand the benefit and how to click. I think I just posted this one twice. Yep. Yep, did that one already. But here's the third step. And we want you to be sharing content. Advertising, that's a different story. We have a bunch of policies for that. And that comes into this part on what I call background stuff. So the first part of background stuff in the checklist is to fine tune your email notifications. This is to make sure that you don't get too many emails. You get just the amount you need and no more. So cutting back the number of notifications. Basically, you're making some choices as to which ones to receive and which ones not to receive. That makes it manageable. We also recommend that you schedule some times to come to the community each week. We find that doing it on a regular basis works best. And then finally, we recommend that when you must read the community guidelines. And in the community guidelines, you'll find a copy of the advertising policies in case you're someone who has a business, you want to promote it, you want people to know who you are, but there are limits to the way that we allow you to do it. We've had trouble in the past with people coming on, and the first post that they do within the first 5 minutes of arriving in our community is an advertisement or a flyer. And this is just not that kind of space. This isn't LinkedIn where you just throw everything up. And what we found is that the more advertisements there are, the more tricky it is, the more challenging it is to engage. All right, so let me take some questions about the checklist. That's it. Let me take some questions about becoming a full member. Let's see some questions, either in Q&A or you can put them in the chat. But let me see what you think about what I've said so far. This is that awkward, quiet moment. Or are you okay with what I've said so far and it's making perfect sense? In that case, put a 5 in the chat to show me that you're tracking right along. You don't have any questions. Akeem says very reasonable. The cost of full membership, it's very expensive because it's free. That's a trick question, right, Marguerite? So there's no cost. Full membership is free. Whoopee! Marguerite, that's for you though. However, Tamika says free $99. Maybe that's Jamaican dollar. Oh, shade. Any other questions? If no questions, put a 5 so that I know that you're here and you're tracking. Start with a checklist. Upload the interactive meaning uploading photo. Yes. How do you go about doing that? Or is there a link that allows you to input the photo? Yes, Carlo. So when you go into that link that I sent you, the welcome pack, it gives you the instructions on how to put the picture in your profile. Okay? Very easy. You can also put a background image, but we don't even require that. It automatically puts one for you. We're going to be using that background image in the future, by the way. All right, everybody's on track. So full membership basically is a signal to the rest of the community that I'm here for the reasons that the community is set up. I've gone past the kicking of the tires. Kicking of the tires is basically, should I even be here? And you've already decided that you should be here for some period of time. And as long as you're here, you're here. The last step to become a full member, once you've gone through the checklist, you've done all these different steps, is to send me an email, and that's it. So Dale has mentioned that our engagement team is here tonight. So I would like to introduce you. Dale, could you just drop the names of the folks in our engagement team, because they play an important role in onboarding all of our trial members, and they help you take the steps to become a full member. Rika is the head of our volunteers or associates. You'll hear more about that a bit later. 17. Next slide. I think Julie is here as well. Hi, Julie. These are some very hardworking people. And as volunteers, they're doing what they're doing. I don't need to tell you anymore, right? Because we've probably all volunteered. And usually our volunteering comes from a space of wanting to give back. So, oh, Lorraine is here too. Hi, Lorraine. So our engagement team is here in full force. So let's talk about the next step. And this is where we're really going to go into the details. And you want to take some good notes. I'm recording this, so you don't have to record everything. You can take screenshots if you want, because I'm going to throw a lot of stuff at you very quickly. But our intent, if you were to ask, why do we have a community? We consider ourselves a success if we're able to help you to master something that's interesting and important to you with other people. Say that again. To master something that's important and interesting, something you find important and interesting with other people. So this is not a course where you go do your own thing. This is a community where the presence of other people accelerates the material benefits and the emotional, let's say benefits again, the emotional benefits. The idea is that it's more fun, right? It's more satisfying, and you can learn faster when there are other people involved. And we'll show you how that works in just a minute. Here's the pathway that will show you what you can accomplish in the next year or so. So click on that diagram to expand it to full the screen, and you'll see it has a brand new, just came up with this weekend, pathway to show you how to get from where you are today to where you want to get in the future. So I'm going to start on the left, but the next slide actually will amplify, each of the following slides will amplify one portion of this diagram because the diagram is big. Okay, that didn't amplify anything, did it? No, because I put up the wrong one. Slide 20. Okay, here we go. So this one shows the very beginning, and it shows what often is the first step for most people. So at the very beginning, you join as a trial member. Some of you you're just hearing about the checklist for the first time, but you complete your checklist where you see that lady on the purple mat is sitting. Then you apply for full membership. And the first choice you have to make is whether or not you want to join the WhatsApp group. So WhatsApp groups are have been an essential part of the experience here at CaribHRForum. They're the way that we interact and talk with each other on a number of different topics. There's one main WhatsApp group, but that main group has gotten to be so full that the extroverts are having a ball and the introverts are kind of like. So what we're doing is we're starting a brand new group. And you guys, once you become full members, and those of you who are full members are going to receive an invitation from us to join and come and be a part of this group. So essentially, we're splitting the big group, And we're also forming, we're going to ask people to come over and join to be a part of this new group. And we're going to keep our groups up to a manageable amount, which will probably be less than 100 from now on. I've been a part of, and maybe you've been a part of WhatsApp groups, which grow right up to the limit of 265, something like that. And they become daily saying, nope, 60 max. And I'm on one that's right up to the max. It's at 260 people. And it is crazy. It stops working, basically. So this new WhatsApp group is going to be small in the beginning. We're going to give everyone a chance to contribute. We are very rigorous around keeping the space safe. No anonymous people, and anyone who breaks the rules gets the boot. That's kind of how we roll. And we're going to send you an invite to join the new WhatsApp group. So if you're not a new member, a full member yet, make sure you grab that full membership quickly, because you're going to be asked to take a step to join. And we're going to be continuing the conversation on a regular basis there. That's step number one. There'll be a new WhatsApp group. Step number two, second step, on the next one, is to take the new member training. Has anyone here completed the new member training? Is anyone here even know what new member training is? Put a 1 if you have no clue what I'm talking about, and a 5 if you've already done it and you've gotten your certificate for completing the new members. Oh, there's all kinds of ones. Okay. All right. So the new member training typically comes after you've done the full member, become a full member. You can do it before, but you usually don't find out about it before unless you really search our community and you have to really find it. So we actually have a group for new members. And in that new members group, there is a 2-hour training. No, this is not any old training. It's not generic. It's specifically developed for CaribHRForum. And our intent is to give you the deepest experience possible by virtue of doing this training. So what does this training cover? Well, let me tell you the gory details. It's one of these bit of a secret here at CaribHRForum, because we didn't have the second part that I'm going to tell you about in place. Farah already read the post about volunteering. So that's a brand new post about our assistance program. I'm going to tell you more about that in a few minutes. So if you go to if you're in our community and you go to the circles, there is a newest members circle. When you join that circle, of course, it's free. Not everything at CaribHRForum is free, but this is free. One of the purposes of doing that training is not only to introduce you to the practices of being an effective member in CaribHRForum, because there are certain practices. There are certain rules, but it's really practices, habits that once you engage in them, you get a better experience. But here's the next part I really want to share with you. You'll be choosing a pathway. What are pathways? Well, as you know, CaribHRForum is a virtual community. And make sure you have some questions for this, because this is a part you want to get clear. Or you could wait till you do the training, but you can ask me the question here. So the point here is that this is an online community, and there are specific skills you may have noticed that we promote. For example, the skill of presenting at an online conference is distinct from the skill of presenting at a live conference. I know we have a couple of presenters here. Ask them, they'll tell you it's a different animal altogether. Whole bunch of different kind of moving parts. It's monetizable, which is different. Means you can make money by presenting. You can add to your mailing list. You have to be careful about creating landing pages. You have to master all these other technologies that are behind the scenes if you want to be a presenter that's effective at a very high level. All right. If you want to be a presenter, you, for example, would choose to be on the Maven teacher path. So you could present, for example, at a webinar or at our conference, but that would be the path that you choose. So we've had members who have gone from not presenting to presenting in the space of a year. And some of them are actually here in the chat. Maybe somebody could say, I did that. Because I know you by name, but I want to call you out. There are folks who wouldn't have imagined presenting, who have presented more than once at our conference. And they took baby steps and went. Oh, Rika, Dale has already outed Rika. And let me see, Rika, are you there? Are you looking decent? Can I bring you up on stage, or let me see if she's listening? Kinda. Bringing people up on stage when they're not ready and available is a little bit of a dicey business. Why? Because you're not sure if they have the video here ready. You're not sure if they've shaved, in my case, they've shaved properly and they're looking decent. Rika, I'm bringing you up. I have appeared on camera before, unshaved, and I heard about it from my management. Rika, go ahead and turn on your camera and turn on your video, and let's hear a little bit about your journey to becoming a speaker.
Okay,
Hi,
you see me?
Rika.
Hi.
Surprise.
Yeah, I just made it in. Well, I just arrived home. So just to share, the question is to share the difference between presenting at a conference versus
Oh
presenting
man,
for the
no, no, I want you
community.
to share your journey from being a regular trial member to where you are now. You're not only a presenter, but you're the head of our volunteers. What was that like?
A very long journey, but enjoyable. Working with the CaribHRForum has been, very it's an easy journey but guided. So that's one of the things that why I've stuck around and stuck for so long. um, in terms of communication, the support is always there, working with Dale and Francis and the engagement team. That has always been a plus. So when we had to, up it up in terms of doing other, engaging in other activities. One second.
The joys of presenting online.
Right. So you have all these different distractions and prioritizing, but working with the team has always been enjoyable, and learning the technology has been a great part and a big thing in being part of the community. Learning remote, learning the online virtual community engagement, and you know, there's no downs to it. There's only gains. You get to
Right.
meet great people, you're exposed to so much content that's relevant, and that's a big part of it. So yeah, the virtual life for sure, Tamika. And just want to encourage everybody here, just step out, ask questions, engage. It was a good journey. Yeah.
Rika is one of those. I think she might be the only person who embarked on two pathways at the same time. So Rika was on the admin path, which you see from the diagram. The diagram I just dropped, which is slide 25. I'm gonna drop it again because it kind of scrolled down. But she was on the admin path by becoming a volunteer, and she did that first. But unrelated to that, so she went from being a regular volunteer to being the head of the volunteers. But separate from that, she also took the consultants training, the very first one we offered. And from there, she presented at last year's conference as a part of the group. And this year, she presented at this year's conference on her own. So there's been like steady, right? I didn't even think of this before when I was doing this, but you're like the two pathway person, two gun kid, you know, that you did both at the same time.
And also, the content creation group was a big, that webinar, that training, it was intensive. But you learn so much, and especially now for everybody here, I'm sure your interest is to, improve your brand, put it out there, increase your profile. So building content and knowing, listen, this was like a free master class. And up to now, I'm still push myself at least once a month, even though that's to put something out there, have the conversation going. So those are some really, those are just some of the little bites, but very impactful moments being part of the community. Yeah.
Because it's so, once again, I thanked you before publicly, but thanks again for your service as our head volunteer, and thanks for training all the people that you train. Thanks for everything.
Most welcome. I mean, working with you all is always a joy. And anybody who ready to step up, trust me, Dale and Francis ready for you all. You know, just step up. You know. So, all right. Thanks again.
For allowing me to pull you up unannounced. I
That's
didn't plan
okay.
that. I'm sorry. Sorry, you can turn off your microphone and your camera, it'll pull you
Sure.
down.
Want to say hi
Back
to
to see.
Risa. I've taken the opportunity. Risa is an old colleague of mine. We did our masters together with Jane. So,
Oh,
Risa Hernandez.
Eugene on.
Yeah.
I'm looking for Risa.
I've seen her
Okay,
name.
great. Welcome, Risa.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
See you in a bit. All right. I almost said Jane. So Rika chose two pathways. She was one of those people who picked more than one. But let me tell you about the others, or all of them. The administrator pathway takes you into the world of volunteering. It takes you behind the scenes where you help to put on the event. It's one where you play a very quiet role, but as you can imagine, essential here at CaribHR Forum. These things don't happen without people working behind the scenes and working really hard without a whole lot of public affirmation and public acknowledgement. So the engagement path is when you join, for example, the engagement team and you help people to onboard and to move from full to trial memberships. And in the future, you'll be helping full members move up a scale, a brand new scale that we're developing right now, where you can move up different levels of accomplishment. The idea is to give you a ladder and to propose a ladder that you could climb, which involves adding brand new virtual or online skills, the kind of skills that you can't learn on the job or you can't learn by joining a regular organization like the chamber. You have to join an online organization, and this is where you pick up these skills. The enrollment path involves broadcasting CaribHR Forum to the wider HR community, 23,000 people on in the Caribbean who are in HR on LinkedIn, and inviting them to come and join CaribHR Forum. So people who are on this path were very active before the conference because they were inviting people to come and join the conference. The Maven teacher path, that's the one that I mentioned that Rika was on, that she went from being not being an attendee to being a presenter in a team to being a solo presenter. And you can see that she's making steps each year to present to greater groups, um, and take a more live role because she's been doing pre-recorded videos, and next year maybe she might do something live. So the connector path is one that Dale in particular has mastered. That involves bringing people together across the community. So you're someone who knows what people bring to the party. So when someone asks a question, you go to a connector and the connector puts you together with someone else. These people are like the glue. And as I said, Dale is particularly strong in this one. And we're eager to get lots of people learning how to do this because it's a real online skill. And finally, the mentor path. How do you develop other people who are interested in adding to their skills by bringing them on as mentors? So these are the pathways that we have put on paper. So what's important to know at this point is that we're not quite finished in putting them. They're on paper, but we're not quite finished in putting them into reality. So let me see which slide I just put up. All right, let's do the next slide. So that's it for the pathways. So what we want you to do is actually start to contemplate which pathway to follow for the next year. And I'll tell you what to do about that in just a few minutes. So one thing you can do if you're on a pathway is to attend a webinar, one of our webinars, or one of our trainings. So Rika mentioned the content creation training. Actually, I don't know how I forgot about that, but it was held in January, February, March this year. Ran for about six or 7 weeks. We also do regular webinars, and here on this graphic, you can see these are the webinars some of them that we've done between last year and this year. I just picked a random bunch of them to put up on the slide, give you an idea. And our webinars cover all sorts of topics, as you can see. You may aspire to do a webinar that would be on the Maven teacher path, right? We also offer training. So the content creation training Rika mentioned was actually the formal title of it was the HR Thought Leaders Training. We're going to be doing a different training this year, this January, but you'll hear more about that later on, somewhere in November. We'll launch it in November for signing up in January. We're going to focus on product and service creation for freelancers. Once again, it's the way we help people who are consultants, coaches, trainers, freelancers, gig workers is by coming up with these innovative ways for them to basically make more money at the end of the day. But what are the elements of that you to follow to make more money? So the other training that we're also now just kicking off, literally, you're the first people to hear about this officially, is with AIHR. So AIHR is a company. It's the Academy to Innovate HR. I hope I got that right. Let's see. So the Academy to Innovate HR is a Dutch company. They're from the Netherlands. And we had Nasha Mupfumi present at our conference. If you were at our conference, you may remember that. But they focus on these, I would call them gap filling programs. These are programs that are really intended to fill some of the analytic, digital, some of the problem areas that the founders believe the HR people have problems filling because the current degree programs often don't address them. Matter of fact, they did a survey just the other day and they found that a shocking 79% of HR professionals don't actually have the skills that they need to succeed in the post-pandemic period. Well, I actually have, I think I have no, I don't have, I tried to do a slide that had that, but I just don't have it available. But if you're interested in hearing more about the survey, I'm going to send out an interview, an email with the survey results tomorrow. So you'll see more about the survey that they did. But the kind of programs that they focus on are digital HR, people analytics, very hardcore in the terms of the skills that are required. But I think what they've done essentially is say, what skills will CEOs and managing directors turn to their head of HR and ask, can you do this in the next near future? And they've focused on filling the gaps that they think are the most pressing. The good news is, as a partner with them, we offer a discount, and we'll tell you all much more about that as you go along. But you can go to their website, or we can go to our page on their website. Let me drop it in the chat. Oh, I also have the link to their survey here. This is the link to our page, our AIHR page. Once again, it's in purple. I have no idea why. Didn't even know we could do that. That's something new. Here's the link to the survey that they did. 79%, because 79% of HR professionals aren't ready. All right, so that's it for training. I know I'm going really fast, but let me see if there's any questions about training and webinars before I get into volunteering. Any questions? If you're tracking, put a 5. If you're lost, put a 1. But if you got to put the 1, you got to put a question with it, right? So I don't understand which part you're lost about. Oh, 5s. That's kind of like a go ahead, Francis. I understand what you're talking about. All right, so let's talk about volunteering. So volunteering here at CaribHRForum is a whole different animal than volunteering anywhere else. So people say, y'all don't make it easy, you know. The truth is, we don't. So where this comes from is that Dana and I have volunteered in the past, and a lot. And we volunteered in some amazing organizations in the United States. And our experience told us that to produce a great volunteer experience, you've got to do more than ask people, do you have some spare time? And can you come on Wednesday and load boxes onto the truck. You've got to balance growth, a growth opportunity, with the opportunity to give back and make sure that both are increasing. So, in other words, the growth opportunity is that you learn new skills. So, as Rika shared, she's gone from being not volunteer to being the head of volunteers. So, the skills required now are very different than the ones that when she wasn't volunteering. And our volunteers are people who follow the same pathways, but they are doing it much faster. Now, how does that work? Through different kinds of projects, assignments, um, different roles that they take on during webinars, different roles they take on during the conference, during the training, all intended to have them climb this ladder of skills. Because what we found is that when you're challenged to, as a volunteer, to improve your skills, you can make a bigger contribution. And when the two are increasing kind of at the same rate, you never get bored. No, I've been a volunteer where I quit the volunteering because it got bloody boring. I mean, there's so many boxes you could put on the truck before it's like, okay, back to the volunteer after doing it for how many weeks, days, weeks, months. But our intent is to bring the best of the volunteering that we've seen, which is that you've got to learn stuff in order to make a greater contribution than you did in the past as a volunteer. With that greater contribution comes a sense that you can give back at a higher level. So you're not just loading boxes on the truck. You've learned other skills that are valuable and that you can take with you once the volunteering is over. So we have you apply, and the volunteer position, which we call an associate or associates program, is for a limited amount of time. It's not endless. It's kind of like it's like a job in a way, but the job is a bit different. Okay. So check out that link, go to that page. If you're interested in applying to be an associate, we encourage you to apply. You won't have to report tomorrow morning. It doesn't work like that. There's a whole process to go through so that you're placed in an area that makes sense, that you get a lot from, that CaribHRForum gets a lot from, and so forth. Okay. So some of our volunteers are short-term volunteers, like our speakers. So our speakers are slightly different. Speakers at our conferences. You probably all know that we have a conference every year, and it's big by most standards in the Caribbean. This year, you probably know we had 1,500 people register. We had 79 videos, 55 hours, 63 speakers, a bunch of content. And the speakers all have to apply to speak. And we basically have a process. We invite people to speak. We typically don't put out an open application for anybody done public to apply to speak. We typically invite people. We handpick the ones that we want to apply to speak, see if they'd be interested. They apply, go through a process, and we have to do a little bit of training sometimes so that we can have them present in a way that works for our conference, because it's, as I said before, it's not like a face-to-face conference. This is a different animal. And to get the most from it, there's a lot that you got to master in order to get the most from the experience. But you can start anywhere. And every year we bring on people who have never presented at a conference. So it's not as if we're looking for people who already have, I've presented at 10 conferences and I've written 10 papers and I'm Dr. So-and-so. No, we try to blend the Dr. So-and-sos because they're good to have with people who are presenting for the very first time. Okay. So if that's something that you aspire to, that's another area. And it's a very particular kind of commitment, which is why I've separated it out and said it's a bit different. Okay. Any questions about speaking at the conference, attending the conference, volunteering? Let's get some questions up. I'm doing a lot of talking. I'm going to take a sip of water. Well, about 20 minutes to go before we go into the networking mode. Once again, if I'm clear, put a 5. If I've lost you, put a 1. If I've lost you, just let me know where I lost you. But I'm throwing a whole lot at you. But this all goes into your path for the next year. I said at the beginning, you can't do everything. There's no way to do everything. You come to our conference, you can't see everything. You join CaribHRForum, you can't do everything. So you've got to decide where and what to do. Far as the question, is a volunteer intern program intended for entry-level work? The answer is yes. The idea is that we give you the skills that you need to climb the ladder. You pick the pathway, or we have a conversation and you pick a pathway, or if you can't pick one, no problem. We'll pick one at some point. But yes, the idea is people who come in as our volunteers start off, we assume that you know nothing. No, we know you know something. That's not the point. But the point is that we do things in a particular way. Online is different than offline. Offline gives you a certain amount of understanding. Even people who have online experience and volunteer with us find that we do it differently. Partly because we're trying to not just get some time from you and fill a gap. We're trying to build skills at the same time that we're trying to enhance your contribution. So some of the speakers, for example, we're like, oh my, we had a speaker quit, more than one, who said, what? I have to learn all this stuff. We're kind of like, yeah, because if you really want to have the impact that you want in this kind of environment, there are things that you need to learn and master in order to deliver at that level. So that's why we can take speakers who never spoken before and have them be effective and get results for their business and for their audiences. Dale is also adding there's a 3-month probation. Yep. So the first stint would be at most 3 months. Some say thank you very much, and we say thank you very much. Thanks for your contribution, and we hope that you've grown during the 3 months. What it takes to take someone who is brand new is that we've got to share some theory, some background. We got to share some understanding. Like, for example, people who start off as our volunteers or associates start off in the engagement team. No, the engagement team is a nice place to start because it's more than what you may think it is. Online engagement is an art in and of itself. And we share a little bit of the science and some of the practices that we follow. Tamika says, oh, no fire volunteers. Mrs., we have had conversations with volunteers in which the result was that we mutually agreed to a separation of our pathways. If you call that. Tamika, you like that one? Nikisha, you like that one? The answer is, well, the stakes, we set it up so that the stakes are a bit high, is what we've done. We want an awesome experience, not just filling the time when you have some spare time. We find that doesn't produce the results that anyone wants. So we kind of ask for much, and we offer much, and we give much. Samantha said that Tamika got jokes tonight. The teas, plenty teas. So one of the ways in which you could benefit if you have attended our conference, but if you didn't attend everything, and I sincerely hope that you didn't, but there are some people who would stay up all night and watch everything, and I heard stories of midnight binge watching, is to buy the All Access Pass. No, the All Access Pass is one of the ways in which CaribHRForum raises funds and allows us to offer free attendance at our conferences. And I have a bit of good news, but you've already probably heard about the All Access Pass. It allows you to review the entire 55 hours, 63 speakers, all the rest of it in the leisure of your office or home or phone for a full year. So you already know that part, right? Let me make sure you already know that part. Put a 5 if you already know about the All Access Pass, the way it's been described to you before, or 1 if you're hearing this for the first time and you have no idea what I'm talking about. Yes, fives, great. No one is clueless. All right, great. Because we've gotten lots of emails from people saying, how do I access the downloads? And we send them a link and say, we've set it up for you. It's already waiting. It's immediately accessible. And here's a bit of news we're adding in. Boy, hold on a minute. I just want to pull up the right slide. I'm on slide 35. So people have also said to us that, man, COVID has licked me up. So if COVID is licking you up, the good news is that we have a payment plan. So the payment plan involves 3 payments of $50 each. And it's available right now. And I'm going to drop the link so that if that appeals to you or if that's affordable, you can choose that option. Because I know for some, once again, it's coming out purple. Tonight's the purple night. And I can promise you, those who take the all access pass talk about the going back and listening over and over and over again. And then using the content from different offerings throughout the year, because we covered a lot, our speakers covered a lot of ground. Adana says, thanks for the payment plan option. Great. It's available. You'll get an email with the availability. I can't remember when it's available now, but it's at least a week, I think, till next. Well, don't quote me, but it's now available. Okay, good. So the last bit of the map that I did not cover is this whole big area that's under construction, right? So Rika says, grab this all access pass. It's so worth it. Yep. I don't know how much it works out per minute, but not that much. So under construction, we have a whole bunch of plans. Now, what do I mean by under construction? I mean, we're still making that part. You are coming into a community that is in transition as we add to these different pathways. So if you look at this little diagram this new diagram I'm going to add up, you can see that there's a connection between the pathways all the way to the new construction. There's like a yellow brick road connecting the two. So we realize that we don't have all the pathways fully built. We're short of the volunteers, the associates that we need to build all these pathways at all the same time. So one of the roles that we want our mavens and teachers to play is to help us in building out these pathways so that future people who come to CaribHRForum can pick any pathway and find the ladder of skills. Right now, if you're to become an associate, you would find a ladder of skills to follow. That would take you through several months. That pathway is mature. Others, not so much. The speaker pathway under the Maven teacher is pretty mature. Doing it for a webinar, not so mature yet. So there's bits and pieces that are big chunks that are missing. Our objective is to build them all out so that when you come to CaribHRForum, you can immediately flip the switch, join the pathway that you want to start off with, do it for as long as you want, have fun, and then flip over to another pathway, follow another one, climb another ladder. And again, these are all online skills that you can't get anywhere. The idea is to offer things that are unique, offer practices and programs and opportunities that you can't get elsewhere. You can't duplicate by, like a master's program, for example. All right, so questions, because I think we have 10 minutes until our networking time. Here's where you put the questions in the chat, because the third step is for you to just basically create a plan. And I hope you've been taking notes and taking screenshots and thinking, I think I want to stay with this plan for this point in time. You can't do everything at once. You can't. Rika's been with us for a couple of years. So in a way, Rika focused on the one pathway for 1 year, and she snuck in the other pathway while she was working on the one So she kind of did 2 for 1. You can focus on 2 pathways, 3, I don't know. But the idea or encouragement is to make steady progress. And our job on our side is to try to make the progress as easy for you to follow, make the pathways transparent, make the steps on the ladder clear so that at each point you're running into brand new thinking, the latest content, the newest stuff that we can find that has to do with or relates to being in an online world. Because really we want this to enhance your job if you're an HR practitioner. And we want all this to enhance your business if you are an HR consultant. Okay? All right, guys, folks, men, ladies, I won't say boys and girls. Let's get some questions up in the chat before I drop. We switch over to networking mode, and I give you a chance to meet and greet, and I'll give you an assignment as well as you meet and greet. Questions, comments. Dale is calling people out. Akeem, you've been called out. I'm going to call people by name. Time for me to cause some trouble. Akeem. Who can I trouble? Who can I bother? Tamika from foreign, and I have Tamika from local, from Jamaica, I think. Tamika Brown, questions, comments. Tamika Stewart, questions, comments. The 2 Tamikas. Questions, comments. Carla says, all good, let's get it started. Farah, are you there? You're the 1 Belizean. Not the first, maybe the first. Tamika, all right, Tamika from foreign. Which pathway appeals to you? Give me some answers up here, man. Which one? You don't have to, no commitment. Which pathway appeals to you? Farah, which pathway appeals to you? Adana, which pathway appeals to you? Of all the ones I've dropped, let me drop the slide again so that you have something to choose from. At this point, I'm not asking for you to commit to anything, but which pathway appeals to you first? Most. I'm looking for the slide. Somebody find the slide number for me. Help, help, help. Looking for the slide. Farah says, administrator and mentor. Great. Anybody find the slide? Mentor teacher for Marguerite. Engagement. We're getting a nice spread. Administrator. Great. Teacher Maven. Thought leadership is, yeah, that's teacher Maven. Yeah. What are the paths again? All right, I'm going to find the path. I have to go scroll up. Keep adding some answers in there. What are the paths again? There's something going on with my windows. I can't actually see the pictures before I add them. Oh, it's not letting me do it. I'm going to try and guess. Slide 25, maybe? Let's see which one that was. Whoa! Pure luck. Okay, that was buck up. Slide 25. AIHR is very interesting. Yes, Tiffany. They check out the link that I dropped. We're offering a 10% discount right now, and there's more discounts coming in the future. But it is very interesting. So, guys, which pathway? Anybody not pick a pathway? Not pick one. Just kind of indicate which pathway. Anybody interested in the mentor pathway? Being a mentor? Any mentors out there? Tamika says the wheels are definitely turning. Yes. Our intention is to challenge you. Okay, you probably figured that part out. No challenge, no fun. No challenge, no growth. Carla says I have to meet the criteria first. Remember the question I answered before, Carla? You can start off on any path at the beginning level. You don't have to come in with, I've already mentored 20 people. You don't have to mentor anyone to join that path. Tiffany is thinking about mentoring. Great. The connector pathway, Akeem, big time online skill. I've it's a path, probably the one that we're finding the hardest to develop, because right now the skills are the trickiest to pull out. Right now, Dale has a lot of these skills, but she wasn't trained in a classroom. Her training comes from the kind of work she did as a student advisor, where she advised 350 students all at the same time online. Carla says teacher, maven, and mentor. The connector pathway, Shavana, is someone who connects people who have different, someone who has a question, for example, with someone who has an answer. Someone who's looking for a job with someone who has a job to offer or knows how to find one. It's the people who are the invisible glue that bring people together to, for different reasons: projects, problems, webinars, speaking opportunities, projects, jobs, consulting offerings. We've had them all happen here at CaribHRForum. When there's a good connector, then a good connector keeps tabs on people, and then I don't know how Dale does it. She remembers who they are, and then she can, this one in Bermuda, that one in Guyana. All right. All right, guys. So we're almost at the end. We have about 3 minutes left. Let me give you the assignment for the networking. Then we're going to flip over. So when we flip over to networking, it's going to take a moment for me to refresh the screen. So we're going to flip, and then it's going to say the event is ended. Don't worry about that. Just keep refreshing the screen. It'll eventually kick back in. The same URL. Just keep refreshing the screen. So ignore the sign that says this event has ended. You'll see it. It's not ended. Just keep refreshing your browser once we flip over. So during network session, I want you to meet at least 3 people that you don't know, not people that you already know. And I want you to connect with them on LinkedIn. All right. I want you to make material connections, in other words. All right. So we just got a sign that says we have 2 minutes left. So I'm going to flip us over